Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Large Las Vegas. My name's Kobe Sherlock, and today, back in the lab, Mr. Derek Parent. Derek, say hello.
Hello.
Guys, we are bringing to you a very special guest from right here in our community, but also a pretty cool friend. I appreciate you for coming in today. Living Large listeners, welcome our Miss Nicole Hanna, the Executive Director of Vineyard Henderson. And Nicole, thanks so much for coming to hang out with us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I just want to dive right in. I mean, I know already, and you don't know yet, but I know you're awesome. And I always enjoy, speaking with you and hearing about how involved you are just in life, and obviously bringing that right here to our community in Henderson. But Nicole, can you share a little bit about your background for the listeners?
Absolutely. So I've been in healthcare for 25 years. And I started in nursing and skilled nursing. I opened up my own business for 13 years after that, doing high-risk clinical cases and post-rehabilitation and fitness. And from there, went into the community. And so I've been in the senior living communities for over 20 years as well, and started opening those back in 2015. So I got to move out here almost 2 years ago and had the opportunity to open a solely specializing community that truly focuses on Alzheimer's and dementia. So we're looking forward to opening that this summer.
I'm excited to really hear, a lot about what you're specializing in, because we see each other out and we're all a part of like HEALS and, really focusing on healthcare and growth in the community. But before I do, I want to share a really cool story. The first time Nicole and I met, I love this story. We were driving up to meet Nicole toward, Blue Diamond, out toward this incredible little bar that's, a biker bar out there. And Jane and I are driving down Blue Diamond, and there's this beautiful view over the valley. So we start taking pictures, and these, motorcycles come up, and we're getting a really cool shot of these two motorcycles in the valley. So we arrive to where we're getting, and sure enough, those motorcycles, that was Nicole. So I had the coolest picture of her before I even knew her. I was able to share it. But Nicole, you love motorcycles.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, nothing better. I did my motorcycle license. I've been riding most of my life, but I got my motorcycles license about 4 years ago and started riding my own bikes and absolutely love it. It's the cheapest therapy and the best way to enjoy the day.
How's riding here versus Florida?
Very different.
Yeah.
Traffic here is not conducive to a lot of riding. It's better to go out in the mountains.
Yeah, take that loop through Red Rock.
Yeah,
Red Rock
it's
loop,
beautiful in Valley of Fire.
There's so many great views out there.
Oh,
I'm going to have to get on one. We're going to have to get a rental and get out there.
you got to do it.
But, what you're focused on is very special, with Vineyard Henderson. And you nailed it. And right before we jumped on, you started sharing a few facts with me about dementia. And it's something we should really pay attention to, in my opinion. But can you share your expertise in dementia and really what that looks like for us, what's happening in the world of dementia and healthcare?
It's really unbelievable. And looking at the stats through the World Health Organization, we currently have around 50 million individuals diagnosed with dementia globally. Over the next 30 years, that's expected to triple. So this is something that's happening astronomically globally. We're seeing that with younger individuals, but folks that are over 65, it's just growing through the roof. It's hard to believe how quickly this is growing. By 2050, we're looking at 152 million being diagnosed with this disease. We're just trying to get a grip on it. Most importantly, my focus is trying to educate, because dementia is something that's a bit taboo. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to understand it because it's something we don't want to deal with. But we're reaching a point, and not only in Vegas, but on a global level, we need to arm ourselves with knowledge and education, because this is something we can't ignore. So with that, what we're looking at globally is also the economic strain. Right now, we're looking at over $800 billion a year to support the side effects, the symptoms, and treating this disease. So from clinicians, specialties, medications, and everything in between, we're going to see this hit us in a harder manner. We're looking at that, with that number tripling in the next 30 years, looking at 800 billion tripling, we're looking at a significant economic factor that we're going to have to face.
And funny, it doesn't just, it affects families. It's, the whole family in general. So, walking into one of your facilities, that, it must be a lot of scariness, right, for everyone.
Of course, this disease throws a lot of things at us. It's one that is not predictable. We know some of the side effects, we know some of the symptoms, and there's some commonalities that we find with different types of dementia. But the interesting fact is that every day is different. Yeah. Sometimes moment to moment's different. And when we can get an individual, when they're early diagnosed, when we start seeing those red flags, when we start asking questions, we can start supporting that family sooner. They have more time to get finances in line, more time to have a support system in place, getting the right clinicians, right medications, and being prepared for this journey. Alzheimer's is a disease that it progresses very slowly. So that's one of the most common forms of dementia. But there's a million other types, over hundreds forms of dementia that many folks don't even talk about. So we're seeing some similarities. But the thing I teach my community and all my families is that if you know somebody with dementia, you only know one person with dementia. Every one of us is different. We bring different background, different personalities and experiences. So how we progress and how it affects our brain is individual. And that's up to us to learn how to adapt to that.
When you say early signs, like, so when would one start to get tested for this type of, like, what's some of the symptoms leading up to going to get checked?
Great question. So this is something I teach on a lot because I call them those red flags. It's when we start looking at what's normal aging and what's not. So when we start doing things that are not typical, for instance, if I was an accountant and every month I wrote the check, I paid the bill, and I had a system. If all of a sudden I was still opening the bill, but I forgot to write the check, but this whole step was the same, we start seeing these bills come in that are unpaid. This is not typical. That's a red flag for me. For someone that is a driver, they've driven their whole life, they did it as a profession. Now putting the key in is a little bit different. Remembering where they're going, the sequence of the gas or the brake. There's little things that I start being mindful of. It's really looking at that individual, and this is where the whole family unit is so viable. You know your loved one. You know what's normal. You know what's typical. You know their lifelong journey. When that starts doing something different or out of the norm, that's what I call a red flag. That's when I would take that to my primary care or family practitioner. Let them start some cognitive testing. Lou Ruvo does this, Aging and Disability Services. There's a number of support places that can start helping you look at, is this neurological? Should we be concerned, or is there something else going on?
You know, as you continue to impact specifically like Henderson, the Vegas area for your work, how do you get the word out? You know, what are some of your best practices in educating? Because I know you say you speak, you know, as an educator, and I'd love to hear a little bit about that and how it correlates with dementia.
I absolutely love teaching. Dementia is one of my primary topics. I have several that I've picked up over the years and just am passionate about. When I got here to Nevada, I feel like there's a number of things that we're working with. One, we have some ways that we can elevate the services we provide when it comes to this disease, but also showing how to engage, how to properly connect with an individual, showing quality, educating the family. There's a big picture involved in this disease. So I feel that educating is number one. Doing a virtual dementia tour, it takes 15 minutes. It gives you a firsthand experience of what it's like to have middle to end stage dementia. I offer support groups. So our support groups are led a little bit differently, but that's anywhere from basic dementia, cognitive impairment, therapy support that's needed, support for the families, for my staff, for the caregivers. It's an overall approach that we have to involve everyone, and then spreading that out to the schools, the churches, the restaurants, really raising the bar so that it's not something we're fearful of. It's something that as a community we understand the signs and symptoms, and from there we're able to walk hand in hand, provide a better and more congenial environment to understand this disease. And together, if we can do that, then we can make an impact, not only for Nevada, but across the nation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you do incredible work and you say make an impact, and it's so true. You know, it's something we always talk about in here is partnership and service, you know, partnership and education, and really growing the community. And your approach is incredible, but we both know that you also are in massive service in other areas and serving organizations with all of the different give backs. Can you kind of speak in a little bit about what inspires you to be in such service, and how do you get involved in so many things?
You know, I feel God has just blessed me in so many ways and allows me to take all of my life experiences and use that as a tool to give back. So my heart is truly servant. I believe in what I do, and I believe in impacting other people's lives to the best of my ability. If God's given me an opportunity to overcome a struggle, I use that as a power, and I try to give a voice to things that nobody wants to talk about. There's a number of things we're facing as a nation, not only as women, as survivors, as individuals with different diseases, and so many folks don't talk about the things that we want to hush. I like to be that voice. I like to bring power and insight to things that are difficult and challenging. Because again, when we understand something and we can make it real, together we can overcome that, and we can raise the bar on so many ways. And that's really my heart. I believe in what I'm doing. I absolutely love loving on people. And I love having the strength to bring power to topics that people are just shying away from.
Yeah. Well, healthcare hasn't always been top priority inside our state, for years ago. And now with great people just like you coming out the community and helping us with something else, right? But why Nevada? Why, you've been here now for a couple of years, but why out of all the states in the country did you pick here?
It was luck of the draw. I picked a spot. I heard a song. I picked a spot on the map, and lo and behold, 3 months later, I was here. Wow. I had no idea what I would be walking into. I was just so excited. And then once I got here, I've been so blessed. I've met amazing partners like y'all. I've had great professionals that have character and integrity and passion, and it has just ignited everything I'm about and really pushes me to keep going.
How has the experience in Vegas? I mean, with partnership, you nailed it. I mean, how's partnership been for you?
Phenomenal. No complaints. I am so honored. I've just really feel like I've met the top 10% in this state. I've just aligned myself with amazing, powerful individuals that just shine with passion and integrity, and that's really what I'm looking for. And uniting all of us together, we're able to raise the bar for everything that we do. So it's just been awesome to watch this take place over the last couple of years.
This city does such a good job of standing together in a vision. I really believe it has one huge vision of improvement in healthcare, in education, in growth, and receiving community well. Folks like us, we both moved here. Me from Nashville, you from Florida, and wow, we've landed in a group of incredible people that have really helped us to guide and connect and keep our individual efforts moving forward to grow. So absolutely. I love Las Vegas. If you're thinking about coming here, come. Just like Nicole, I mean, you show up and create just a huge splash when you landed. And that says a lot about you and what you're up to.
Thank you.
I know every time I come over to Vineyard Henderson, I've been there a couple of times, and the team, just the energy, being around you, it's a lot of fun. It's super inspiring. We had the barrel. We were raising or collecting, I should say, clothing and supporting in that. And I feel like every time we talk, there's just a really cool new initiative you're up to. And so for that, I'll say thank you. I appreciate you, encouraging us to dive in with you and make a difference.
Thank you so much. We've got around 4 to 5 not-for-profits that we raise for every month. And I was able to meet another one through the holidays. So we've got 5 that we're supporting. And I just believe that so much of what we do is about giving back. And there's so many areas here that we can do that. So having you guys support us in that mission has just been amazing. We've been able to impact hundreds of lives.
All the local, what I love is the grassroots, organizations that are sparking up to help our community. I know there's some amazing big ones out there like Make-A-Wish, but they have so much backing already by so many amazing people. But some of the local, little ones here, they don't get as much as support. So, thank you. And, we're kind of the same way. We're always doing something. Like right now we're doing one for eye care for kids, for children they can see, But getting back to you, I just don't know how one would pick such, because Ronald Reagan was one of the presidents when I was growing up. I really admired him, right? Because funny story, I wrote a letter to the White House, and he actually sent me a picture of him autographed when I was just a kid, right? Wow. So I always stayed him, and then he was one with dementia and Alzheimer's. But to see kind of what the family was going through. But, through the media, I didn't really know anyone who has actually gone through it or lived it, a family member. But how do you, and you're a specialized, nurse and everything, but how do you pick that? How do you really get your arms around that type of specialty?
Wow. Hard work and dedication for one. It's dementia is something that every day is unknown. And I think that when we can work with our families and change the perception of the journey, that's been one of the most advantageous things, not only for me professionally, but with my staff and my families, is when we can find some joy in the day. We've got to change our perception because this disease can be very challenging and difficult. So it's all about finding joy in the day, capturing the moments, making those last. And sometimes a memory or a moment is only a few seconds. But when we can learn to see that, we can start seeing the benefits and the engagement and the quality throughout this journey. Also working with my families to grieve. My staff and my families grieve through this disease before the person has moved on. You're losing an individual in your life. Yeah. And that's something a lot of folks don't address. But I have a lot of families that are angry or resentful or they're sad because they don't understand what's happening or what's next. So what I find is when we know enough about the disease and the effect it's having on the brain, and we can really take everyone involved, the whole unit, and walk them through this process and give them tools to understand what's happening, it kind of fills the pieces in. For me personally, my favorite place is memory care. When everything else is going wrong in a day, which happens sometimes, I can go into a memory care and everything is crystal clear. I get back to the basics, the simple things, what makes you happy, making someone smile, getting a connection or a spark. Sometimes if they're nonverbal, just a light in their eyes. But that makes everything better, you know?
It reminds me of 50 First Dates, right? When you're saying that, like
absolutely
every
right.
single day, Adam Sandler, he came and did, that
was a great movie.
It was.
Yeah, but
was.
that's somebody with brain trauma. So,
I mean, as you continue to land in the work, are there efforts that you take for, I guess when you're really targeting for education, who is it that you want to get in front of to really get, people thinking about looking for so many symptoms? When you say that it is a whole unit, how do we reach those people and where can we meet them at to get them educated on this?
I think sky's the limit. I do serve on the board for Friends of Parkinson's, and I've just been moved up to their medical advisory board as well. I think medical symposiums, schools, I teach at Touro University. I'm teaching nationally on podcasts now. I'm looking for any opportunity, anyone that will allow me to step up and speak, or any opportunity to step in and learn. I'm open either way. I talk on a lot of topics, and I really feel that the best thing we can do is to continue to learn and grow individually. But then the best thing we can do is give that back. So I'm willing to speak, teach, and go wherever I can in hopes of improving somebody's quality of life or changing their perception on whatever we're talking about and making this disease something that we can all work through.
So there's no cure, right?
There's not right now.
There's no cure now. Is there anything going on with stem cell in that type of research for?
That's a great question. My last conference at the Lou Ruvo Center gave me a lot of information. One of the things I know they're doing is they have released a new FDA-approved drug. They're offering that medication and a placebo, so nobody knows what they're on. But we've got new drugs rolling out. Every day it's changing. I know we've had a lot of opportunities to try different medications. Some of those are working, some are not. I think what we're challenged with, according to the latest research, is every individual is different. Yeah. How their body processes, what's the cause or the root cause of the dementia, whether it's coming from your stomach, which is another high-level research that's going on right now, looking at the acids and the breakdown, looking at how your brain is functioning throughout the disease with plaques and proteins and tangles. All of this stuff going on has really not had as much financial backing as things such as AIDS or HIV or cancer. And now with this really taking precedent and becoming one of the top 6 leading causes of death in our nation, we're starting to get greater financial backing. So I have seen in the last 5 to 10 years more being dumped into research, more legislature, more Congress, because right now it's going to become an epidemic. So I think we'll see a lot more advancements coming up. Right now it's just exciting that they're starting to identify how to make moves. Yeah. And now we're able to do some medications that help with the side effects and symptoms. So I feel like we're on the cusp of something great, and I'm hoping I'm here for it.
Well, we just always hear, I always hear so much about stem cell. So I'm thinking, that's something that would really go hand in hand with dementia and Alzheimer's.
That's what I'm hoping. I know that they talked about with these new medications they have, they can eliminate the plaques and proteins in the brain, which is also indicative of having a form of dementia. And they can test that after they can do that in an autopsy. What's interesting is that last year I learned they can also diagnose with up to greater than a 90% accuracy that you have dementia without an autopsy now. Wow. So that's phenomenal. Yeah. The real proof is after in an autopsy. But the other thing that's interesting is that they've also shown individuals are resistant. So we've got folks that have full plaques and proteins and all of the side effects that one would see of the impact on the brain, but they're asymptomatic for dementia. So my thought is some folks are resistant to all of the things that are happening, and they're not developing any of the side effects. So I hope that maybe we can target their resistance and develop a type of vaccine or something along those lines to protect those of us.
Yeah, if anyone's going to be here for the cure, I believe it's going to be you.
Well, thank you. I'm hoping.
Just count us in to support however we can.
Thank you so much.
And matter of fact, for Vineyard Henderson, how can maybe one get involved to support you in your efforts? For our listeners that are listening, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Anyway, my cell, my email, our website, all of the above. I'm so excited. We're set to open this summer. And we solely specialize in Alzheimer's and dementia. That means Lewy bodies. That means frontal temporal lobe. That means some of the more challenging types of dementia. We have a highly specialized team. We have a highly specialized community. We do things very differently. And we offer 15 to 25 activities a day to engage our residents and ensure that they have quality rather than a place just to sit and hang out. I think when we can show the longevity that this disease can allow, when we treat it right and when we have the right team in place, I think families are going to really enjoy, but the community as well. I want to be able to show folks just how amazing this can be, and it's a lot of fun. And I think that's just changing the perception of the disease and changing how we train our families and our staff. We offer support groups, fishing clubs, art therapy, music, dance, you name it. If there's something that I don't have in the community, believe me, I'm always open. I'm partnering with local high schools, different churches. I try to extend everything to my community that I do to my staff as well, so everyone gets the benefits of what we offer at Vineyard, and everyone is welcome. So I have a mother and daughter moving in. We bring couples together. We bring spouses together, brothers, sisters, family members, roommates, whatever the case may be. That way we can keep who your people are, who helps you have the best quality of life. We can keep you together.
Are you guys going to have any type of volunteer or mentorship? For instance, like my daughter she wants to be in medicine, right? Are you going to have any like those type of, I think it inspired, younger generation who are going to medical school to maybe look into this type of field?
I completely agree. And yes is the answer. In Florida, I was running around 200 volunteers in my group. I'm a big believer in the more the merrier. When it comes to our Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, any Bright Future scholarships, or any folks needing in school, junior high or high school, needing to get their volunteer hours, I will absolutely sign on any of that. I'm bringing elementary schools in because intergenerational is vital. We've got to involve these younger generations with the older generations. A lot of the youth don't have grandparents. They're not being exposed to what history really is. Yeah. And we're losing a part of this with this generation. It's where a word meant something and a handshake was a promise.
Yeah. So, I agree. I like my daughters have no grandparents left. Or they have their grandmother, but they have really, like, normally you have 4 grandparents and so forth, but they have none. So I love hearing this because I believe it's so important to educate the youth, especially in this town. There's, we got the School of Medicine, and, we're growing nursing and doctors and internships and fellowships. And I believe this is just another way to get the youth involved in, medicine. We need great doctors and scientists, and, a lot of children, they inspired to be, they they want to be a football star or a basketball star when they get older, but you don't really hear about want to be a science star. And we need, more doctors and great people leading this community. And, and doing that, I think, is amazing. So if a child or a younger teen wants to get involved, what's the youngest that you would take into being like a mentorship?
Any age.
Any age.
Awesome.
It is. I'm teaching virtual dementia to 3rd and 4th and 5th graders. I'm bringing them in to read books, and for our seniors to read books to them. There's not an age that's not appropriate. I think we can all get enthusiasm when it comes to an older population. And I love working with anybody that's excited about clinical. When I started so many years ago, it was senility, and this was the way you did things. And there was not hands-on dementia training, especially in a positive way. So I love getting my hands on nurses or CNAs or folks that just have a feeling they want to go into something healthcare. They can come in from administration to healthcare. I bring in anybody interested. I really want to expose them to a different side. I want to give them tools to work with this disease because it's an amazing, amazing career. And every day is rewarding. And I think if we learn the right tools, it's going to change the perception of so many folks. And I want people to want dementia. I want them to want to come into communities and to be excited because they know how to handle it.
I'm looking forward to, because I can sign up one right now. Michaela Parent will be at your facility volunteering because she loves medicine. She loves this stuff, and she loves medicine, and she wants to be a doctor. And I think this is a great field to be in.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
I'd love to have
a great way to connect with this folks.
Just don't have me read. Just don't have me reading to people. That's all. These guys bust me up a little bit. But it was a great interview. I truly enjoy it. But I didn't know this about you until you walked in. So the story of the crocodile or the alligator on one, and the other day paddleboard and a shark. So I've never met a person that came in contact 5 feet away from both of those. That's amazing. Being in Florida, I'm not surprised, but actually talking to the person that's happened, like, tell us about. I want those 2 stories. That's amazing.
All right. So after I first moved to Florida, I was determined to learn how to surf, and got a longboard and went out surfing, because I thought I could. And 6 a.m., I'm on my longboard waiting for a wave to come in, and there was around a 9-foot shark a few feet away, feeder fish, and I had fingers and toes tucked on the board, praying. And then a shark went under and came up on the left side of my board. So as soon as I got a wave, I think I walked on water. I don't even know if my board followed. I just got to the shore as quick as possible. That was my last day of surfing. Paddleboarding, we used to paddleboard in the rivers and in the lakes, and we had a place called Turkey Creek, so the gators were everywhere. So when you're paddleboarding and you've got gators all around you, it's a little unnerving because they can jump right on you, but all was well. They left me alone.
Warrior.
Hey, you wonder why she rides a bike.
There you go.
Yeah,
She's
zero
a bike
fear
rider,
over
right?
here. You are fearless.
I don't know. The 215 on a motorcycle still makes me scared.
Oh. So I had a motorcycle for years, and I stopped riding some years ago. One, I never had a lot of people to ride with.
Yeah.
And 2, the 215 is a little crazy, right? So I would agree. We would take that Red Rock Loop and all that good stuff. And it was you're right. It's therapy, getting on a bike and just going. Truly is. But anyway, I really appreciate it. I love being around you. Your energy is always amazing, but you learn something new. And I love the fact that there's so many things that are inviting to the youth nowadays to go and do. I remember when I was younger, there wasn't a lot we could go do, to volunteer or so forth. But nowadays, there's so much. I mean, house at like Candy Stripers or whatever, the younger kids that would before they're going to college, they had to get some credits. They would do that. But I love the fact that they can actually go and read, but also be a part of the community and actually learn and listen. That mentorship is huge. I think if we had a lot more mentorship, we'd have a lot more kids wanting to go into specialty fields. It's something that you have to see and be around. And unfortunately, the tablets and the cell phones are typical. I don't want to say all children, but most people are tied to that. And to get them off of that into something like that, unless they're watching, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe they're watching, videos of doctors and podcasts and stuff. I'm hoping that's what they're doing.
Hopefully they're watching ours.
Yeah, hopefully. But no, they're truly, it's giving back to such a great community. And thank you for being here. I know Las Vegas especially, they're really working to cure this healthcare epidemic, because I know that our healthcare levels are still at 2001 levels with Medicaid and so forth. But just growing into specialty fields, and you're amazing, and for doing what you're doing. And here, we really appreciate it. I can speak a part of, for everyone in the state, we're grateful that you're here, helping us with our loved ones. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm also a firm believer that I think if you walk into any room with anyone that is working in healthcare, they're going to be overjoyed to partner up with you. And so that just goes to who you are and, how you show up to me. So I'll say thank you as well. And thanks for sharing, a little bit about what you're up to. If the listeners want to contact you, what's the best number?
702-561-0170.
All right. And I can't tell you enough, Nicole. I appreciate it. I look forward to the growth of Vineyard Henderson here in Nevada, and anything we can do to partner up, we're ready to go.
Absolutely.
And listeners, if you're looking to volunteer, reach out, come help us out. Let's see how we can make a bigger impact and really push the efforts to course correct the trajectory of dementia here in the United States and in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.